Hello, my loves. Hello, my loves. Beautiful, beautiful, beloved sisters and brothers and soul family that will be tuning in and wanting to receive this transmission. Very specifically, we are going to be speaking into a soul pod and a shift in the awareness of the rise of the two-spirited woman, or the rise of the feminine and the goddess in the form of the priestess. Now, this has actually been a uncommon, process of enlightenment, purification, and transcendence. However, two-spirited beings are not uncommon. So I would like to state that as a little bit of a awareness, but we're looking at this because of the specific pod of woman and the awareness of, for the men and the woman that might be moving through a process of supporting her, and what is required for this awareness in relation to the goddess and the priestess that are coming into this higher bandwidth of consciousness. So first of all, I'm Kiaya Ariati. If you have not seen any of my transmissions before, I am of sound heart and sound mind. I am the oracle for the 144. I am a master teacher of the Purity of Isis Mystery School, which is a mystery school for women who go through the activation, the awakening of their ancient lineage, go through the purification process of the Baraka process, and work themselves through the temple, through the different layers of the psyche, mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional, to become the embodiment of their authentic self and live in service and devotion to their soul and to the greater power. I also run a mystery school called New Earthers, where we are working specifically on a purpose cycle, and we are working on embodying and becoming very solid in our dharmic path and our purpose creation. So these are two of my primary offerings at the moment, and you can work with me one-on-one in multidimensional healing, the DAC process transformation. I work with people in building their soul's blueprint or their business blueprint, and support them in becoming the embodiment of their dharmic path and building an empire with reciprocal energy exchange for you. Basically, get paid to be you. So because this is a guided information session, I want to start with, I guess, the understanding of what is two-spirited. Like, what does that actually even mean? What does it mean to have two spirits in relation to a soul, and all of the different other dynamics that we have in relation to understanding? Now, we talk about twin flames and soulmates and soul splits and all kinds of different interpretations of the layers of oneself that could have arrived in multiple bodies. Now, the twin flame energy is not just between two. So things like the twin flame actually comes right down to the essence. If you go to the essence of someone's spirit, so before they were even a spirit, the essence of the spirit, the essence divides itself into multiple energies, and then spirits are formed, and then those spirits go on journeys, become souls, and end up in bodies. So you can have multiple twin energies. And the reason it's seen as a twin is it is the twin of the essence of the original signature. So it's a copy. It's a complete copy. Then life experience or multidimensional experience becomes a pathway that makes you a unique, yet you hold the twin energy. Now, that is only one interpretation of a being. We have different beings that have souls and no spirits, and they are here from soul growth and soul development and soul evolution, but they actually don't have a spirit connection. And this becomes confusing for people because they don't understand that everything in reality is a hierarchy of consciousness or a level of spirit to matter. So you can have human beings that are functioning from all different levels of spirit to matter, and whether not everyone has a spirit, not everyone has a soul. NPCs, for example, don't have a soul. We have descended consciousnesses or beings that come from the lower realms that don't have a spirit or a soul, but they have a consciousness, and they have to develop those things through their evolutionary process. So you can birth a spirit simply by being able to perceive a spirit through mind. So there is a awareness around the beings that have come here to be two-spirited women, and I've spoken in depth around the two-spirited men, so this is not that transmission, is that a two-spirited woman, there are many that came with this pod. Now, this pod specifically came here to assist the shift in this pivotal point of history where we're balancing out of the patriarchal energies and we're shifting into a more unified perspective of creation. Now, those beings that are, say, more your masters or your ascended, enlightened leaders or gurus that are yet to really become embodied, they're still in the process of doing that. They are shifting out of primarily being men and into a more feminine formed expression and presentation. Now, the reason that a two-spirited being or the pods came is because when you have two spirits, you have two sets of gifts, you have two sets of abilities, you have two sets, you have a larger bandwidth of consciousness, you have a larger perspective of reality, you have more information, more connection to the different libraries. Like, not only can you function from the Akashic, you can then function from Thoth's library, you can function from the universal and the galactic libraries, you can function from the library of intelligence itself. So the more spirit, the more frequency, the more light, the more capability you have to understand this reality and support others to understand themselves through this reality. So these two-spirited pods, there's a group, there's about 1,700 women, right? So 1,700 women globally that decided to hold this two-spirited dual goddess template. Now, not all of those are going to activate because it's an absolutely gnarly, hard path of purification. Now, I want to explain how hard this path is, because the path of purification or the path to enlightenment transcendence is hard enough for one spirit. You know, if it was easy, we would have more of these amazing gurus, these enlightened masters walking around. It's not an easy path. It's actually a very hard path. It takes day-to-day focus, commitment, discipline, mental mind retraining. It takes beingness. It's the perfect amount of force to flow. It's the yin and yang, finding that unity point. It's the 0 point in connection with creation itself. And that takes a lot of mental barriers, a lot of emotional transformation. It takes a lot of multidimensional interpretation. It takes altered states. It takes physical embodiment and physical experiencing to do that and to be able to be the attainment of an enlightened expression. So these 1,700 women, although they have this template to be the goddess, a two-spirited goddess, that to actually achieve that is a very successful achievement, because it will be the level of devotion that requires a complete commitment to only that in the life experience, to become that expression. Because when the two-spirited individuals, and it's coded in many because we have choice, and some people will choose it and some people won't, and some people will give up a spirit and they won't go through the emergence process. And this is beautiful because we all get to have our sovereign experience. We all get to have our sovereign journey. But these two-spirited energies, basically, you come with the template, you choose whether you want to continue, you choose if one of the spirit stays dormant. It might never activate. And you have to recognize that if you choose to activate both of these spirits, what happens is you have to go through the purification process of both, which means you have to go through enlightenment twice. And that means that you go through all 7 chakras. You look at every dimensional expression or gift and ability that's held in a chakra. You go through every wounding that's held in those chakras. You look at the perception of reality from that spirit. You look at the specific experiential wounding from that reality. You look at their patterns. You look at the things that they've gotten really gifted at. And you go through this transformation for one spirit, and then what happens is the second spirit goes through an activation, often just after or just before the enlightenment process itself is completed, or what we call the Baraka process, the purification of the 7 chakra systems. And that is kind of challenging, or what you might even call horrific, for the individual that's going through it, because they've gone through 7 chakras of transformation to get to this place of pure presence, of service, of contribution, and they don't even get to enjoy that place of just being, just isness. There's nothing to do, there's nothing to change. You just get to experience as pure consciousness. And then the second spirit activates, and you have to go through it all again. And it's like falling. It's like the idea of becoming completely connected to source and God, and then falling into the density of forgotten, of nothing, of not knowing again. Because that second spirit is that. The second spirit has fallen. It is in the density. It is in the wounding. It is in the trauma. It is in the confusion. It is in all of the things of the ego. And so the experience for an individual that would be going through this can be like, it can be confusing, because it can feel like you've not achieved your goal, not understanding why you're not integrating. You're being told certain things are purifying, but you're having a completely different experience. You have perhaps you have purified one spirit and you've sat in a fairly stable state of being, and then all of a sudden 5, 10, 15 years you regress into things that are so foreign that you don't actually even remember how to process them, because it's such a long time ago that you experienced that yourself. And that's because you're being dropped back into a base level, sometimes, void, 1 dimension, 2-dimensional consciousness that then has to go through a process of remembering God for itself through that lens. And so this means that basically we have beings that have a purified expression and a completely unpurified or distorted expression, a separate mind perspective. And for the individual that's living in that reality, and there's many men and women that have this, is that creates a Jekyll and Hyde experience. That creates a completely purified, devoted, in connection and communion with God, completely in coherence and knowing and gifts. And then the other side is the complete other expression of the other spirit that is then functioned from at a different point of time, because the body's holding 2 completely different realities and moving between both realities, not knowing what's actually happening. How can I be so guided? How can I be so gifted? How can I have this? And then how can I simultaneously in the next moment be in this energy? Because the human being doesn't know how to actually hold and stabilize one at a time, because they're both there working together to move the second spirit through the purification. So the first spirit might have gone through full purification, and basically it's working as a guide, saying, okay, come through this and then move through this, and this is that perspective. But there is not enough conscious ability to be able to do this, that it's all done through unconscious experiencing. And so the individual that is basically got a pure spirit and a distorted spirit, this pure spirit's taking it through all its initiations. And the human being has absolutely no idea what's going on, because it seems so aligned to mission, remembrance, pathways, and then simultaneously it's contradictory, contrasting completely the reverse experience. And this can create an extreme amount of mental destabilization, emotional dysregulation, a level of questioning one's abilities and connection with God, because most of these women are already high-level priestesses, high priestesses, and have worked in woman's embodiment. They're already multidimensional healers. They're already individuals that have done the work. They've worked through this. So to be thrown into something that seems so foreign really is an identity crisis for them, because they don't actually understand, and they also feel afraid to express it because they don't even know what they're expressing, because it doesn't have a verbal dialogue yet. It doesn't have an interpretation of what is playing out, and to be able to express. Like, there isn't people that you can be like, can you please show me the pathways of can you please show me the pathways of transcendence, right? You've not only got someone that's going through perhaps a second transcendence. How many coaches can say, hey, I need you to show me the full purification of my 7 chakra systems, and I need you to take me a point of transcendence and enlightenment so that I can live whole in my two-spirited experience. Sorry, but don't know many. I might be, as far as I know, the only one that I know of. If there's more, please drop them in the comments below, because it's something you actually have to have lived. It's something that you have to have experienced. It's something you have to have integrated. Not only is this pathway of enlightenment and transcendence something that I deeply desire to share in like a university one day, and to actually say there are step-by-step processes. There are this, then this, then this, then this. If you understand this has this polarity, if you understand this energy has this opposing force, if you understand all of those things, you can actually go through enlightenment quite easily and gracefully in a supported space with a committed anchor to take you through those guides. It's something that can be done. And the challenge is that when you've done some level of it and you've gone through some level of self-realization, and then you begin to go through that from the point of the fall or nothingness or unconsciousness again, that creates a lot of conflict. So this sect and this pod of women, I believe there's only a couple of hundred that have gone through this activation and that are moving through this. Do I want to purify, or do I want this spirit to step out of my body? Because really that's the choice. The choice is, do you want to go through 2 lots of purification, 2 lots of enlightenment, 2 lots of stabilization and integration to hold a really strong mission and purpose in whatever it is that you chose to? Or do you want to have sovereign choice and actually allow yourself the peace, the rest, and just land in that one-spirited attainment, that self-realization, and give it up, because you have that opportunity. Now, because we don't educate people that they can choose to have things step out of their body. You can choose to have a energy merge with you. You can choose consciously in this moment, go, yeah, I want a bigger bandwidth. I'm going to choose to have a walk-in today. Maybe not today, but it depends how much separation point you have from that and the choice. If you believe you can have it today and there's no resistance, you can. It will come by the end of the day. You'll have something else step into your body, and you'll have a walk-in consciousness that will provide you more Christ or more God or more this or more that. That is something that you can do. Most of us are doing it through our unconscious choices. Most of us are doing it through moments of declaration. Most of us are doing it by saying that we'll do whatever it takes to meet the mission and purpose that's required for the planet, right? Something like that would open your space to going through an experience like that. And it's, I guess, something that's needed and required, that if you have a walk-in step in, you can also ask the walk-in to step out. Integrating a walk-in is fucking hard. Integrating and purifying energies that are not you as the human being that you've been takes a lot of devotion, a lot of support, a lot of understanding, a lot of helping the light merge with the matter, a lot of detoxing. Like, the journey is not some woo-woo love and light, yay, we're a higher dimensional being in form. It's actually really, really, really contrasting, conflicting, contradictory. It creates a lot of destabilization. There's a lot of hatred for the body. There's a lot of, why can't the body function at the speed that my walk-in functions from? And so it's not fair to say, if you are sitting in this two-spirited priestess goddess, just because you had the template, that you have to choose this path. You don't have to go through this. You don't have to move through. You don't have to move through something that you committed to before you even came to the earth. That's sovereignty. Like, that's really, truly choice. Is like, what does your heart want? I know for many of us, we actually want to live. For a lot of us, we've been doing this. We've been in the ascension. We've been in the healing. We've been in the transformation. We've been in the mud. We've been looking through ourselves and meeting those elements for so long now that it's like, I don't want to keep evolving. I don't want to go through another process of purification. I don't want X, Y, and Z. I just want to be where I'm at and live where I'm at and create from what I know. Because some of us have so much wisdom that you wouldn't even be able to document it all in one lifetime. Even if I sat down and I sat with a scribe and I channeled every single day, the knowledge that is stored within this consciousness and this being would not be documented, because it just isn't something that is possible at this state of experience. So some of the things that are happening is there's the choice point of, do I want to go through 2 purifications? Do I want my second spirit to activate? Do I want to give it up? Do I want to have a walk out? Do I want to have a walk in? And why? Like, is it coming from this wound of being a savior? Is it coming from this story of needing to be the highest version of myself? Where is it really generated from? And am I really ready to do this? Like, do I want to walk this path? Is it worth it for me? Not for humanity, not for consciousness, but for me. From that self-serving point of, do I want to commit to this? Does it actually serve me? And if it does, then there's a lot of things to be aware of. If you're choosing that path, if you're choosing to go through a 2-spirit initiation, if you're choosing to alchemize, then you've got to be aware of that you're going to have different wounds for different spirits. One of my spirits has mental illness. One of my spirits, which is very different to my other spirit was extremely sane. Now that in itself, having a sane, purified spirit and a mental illness descendant spirit created a lot of turmoil for me internally, created a lot of physical disruption, a lot of inflammation, a lot of chaos on my body, on my organs, on my nervous system. Recognizing that the things that are important to one spirit often aren't important to the other spirit. One of the spirits might be so in the desire to do healing, and the other one might be in the desire to actually create music. And they're completely different pathways. And how do you merge those together? How do you be the healer and the musician? Maybe it's that one of them really likes material items and the other one's actually a barefoot, like on the land, get into community shaman. That's the true contrasting reality of realizing that the set of belief systems, the set of values, they're very contradictory to each other. They're different on purpose. Because instead of finding a divine counterpart outside of yourself to build the bandwidth and to build the capacity of creation and to build this offering, you're actually building the bandwidth within. So you could see your 2 spirits as divine counterparts. So they're opposing energies. One's ascended, one's descended. One's light, one's dark. One's fluffy, heavenly, yummy love energy. One's fierce fire. That's what will happen, is that they are there to show each other a greater perspective and actually come into mergence where those energies create something completely new on the planet that allows for the feminine energy to be supportive in new pathways of consciousness. And so when this takes place, you're going to start to experience memories that you didn't have before. You're going to activate traumas and pains that you didn't know existed before. You're going to access parts of your mind. You're going to have a different gift and ability. For me, my second spirit was although I was reading blueprints, I wasn't creating them until my second spirit activated. And my second spirit creates blueprints. She's like a master blueprint creator, a master pathway builder. And she's the one that wants to be a conscious business builder. She's the one that wants to help my other spirit who loves Dharma and purpose and contribution and service to actually build a business based on what they can build together, which is a high level spiritual, entrepreneurial, conscious pathway to longevity in like empires that have married and merged medicine with spiritual realms and material. And so the awareness is that I had no desire to do what I was doing, like what I'm doing now. 19 months ago, I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to share the DAC process. I wanted to bring big transformative events and conferences, and I wanted to do that. And I wanted to do it mostly on my own, possibly with a travel buddy or someone that I could be in a relationship with that could serve my purpose, right? That's what I wanted. That was my one spirited mission. Now, my second spirit activates. My second spirit wants to be a mom. My second spirit wants to have a family. My second spirit wants to build foundations and roots with community. My second spirit wants all of these things that actually are very contradictory to the life I was just about to live before all of this unraveled. And so you can see that the marrying of these worlds takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of looking at and self-realizing and being guided of how do I see the middle way? Because if you don't, you're going to tether. You're going to feel crazy. You're going to experience crazy because they are completely different spectrums of reality that you have to merge into one reality. And, you know, that's hard for someone who knew their life purpose, knew exactly where they were going, was about to fly overseas and begin this venture into the US and to run all of these events, and then suddenly end up having a daughter back in primary care, having a partner, being a homemaker, still building a business online, that as well as all of the psychological elements of, oh, wow, actually, I want to have another baby. What? I did not know that wasn't a part of the plan, right? That doesn't make sense. I've like worked on this so much. Why would I want to have another baby? Oh, it's my second spirit's desire. But it's actually the truth when you merge them together. And so that tethering between, I want to go this way, I want to go that way, this is how I see the world. No, this is how I see the world. That is really, 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 really hard. Really hard. And it requires a framework of consciousness to move through, which is understanding that you are, when am I in one spirit? When am I in the other? One is stable, or do they both need purification? Which one is anchored? Which one's going through a path of initiation? What's taking place? Because if you don't plan, you're going to let the experience run you. And when that happens, there's a lot of crazy shit that happens. There's a lot of disruption that happens. There's relationship breakdowns. There's choosing people just to purify. There's creating things to only find out they were there to help you to see your internal self. There's hurting people. There's changing your mind like a gazillion times a day, not being able to have consistency in routine, food, all of those things, because you're literally living from two, you could say you're two humans in one body. That would maybe help you and your best friend in one body. Would that work? You might have completely different ideas. So this creates a lot of inflammation, a lot of mental instability. It creates a lot of physical disruption because the body doesn't cope very well, especially if you're not aware of what's happening. And to do this and to move through it, if it is your sovereign choosing, then using a pathway of consciousness, such as the purity of Isis. So for me, if I didn't have my own teachings, if I didn't have my own purification process that took me through the first journey, I never would have made it out. I never, ever would have. I would be in a psych ward, 100%. I know I would have, because I had to use my own transmissions. I had to use my own healing modality. I had to re-access tools that I hadn't used for years. I'm still accessing tools that I haven't used for years, because what happened is I forgot a lot of stuff because of the mental instability. I forgot a lot of basic things that I live my life by. I forgot how to integrate certain things to stabilize them. And so going through and taking myself back through the framework of transcendence, every transmission, rereading my own posts, things like that, that were so embodied and so known and so stable, helped me to take my second spirit into that same point of meeting where I can be present again, where I can finally be able to be one spirit, because they've become one. They've finally met that mergence. They want the same thing. They want the same direction. They're seeing both realms come together. But it was only through having my own framework. Now, most of you don't have that. Some of you that have gone through this process of transformation and enlightenment have, but most of you are going to be going through faith, trust, hope, hoping that the right person comes along, hoping that someone gives you the right insight, or just experiencing to move through that emergence process. And that could take years. That could take so much disruption. And I guess if it was like me, I nearly gave up so many times because I didn't understand. I didn't know that I was going through a second spirit purification until it was like 16 and a half months in. And then I was like, oh my God, of course. That makes so much sense. I can see it all. I can see exactly the steps. I can see the moment it awakened. I can see when it went through this. I can see it. But I didn't know, right? And that's what this message is about. This message is for those that go, fuck, something resonates here. I'm either this, whether I'm a man or a woman, or, do I want this consciousness? Do I want this experience? Do I want support? Do I want to keep going in this ridiculous, sovereign, autonomous way of like, nah, I've got this? Because it's a pathway that does not hold much education. It's a pathway that doesn't have many layers of support. These videos, there is so much in each and every one of these videos, things that you don't even know that you're hearing or receiving, because the intention is to actually blast you with remembrance, to make sure that every layer of your DNA awakens to elements of yourself, to make sure that when I'm talking, you don't even realize that I'm weaving light through the space, but you chose sovereignly to show up. You chose sovereignly to listen, and that you've given permission and consent, whether you realize it or not, because it won't work on you otherwise. And so you hear a conversation like this, you hear things like this, and you recalibrate. You shift into a different frequency, you shift into a different reality, you transform, which is amazing and beautiful, but you don't consciously or cognitively understand what's taking place all the time. Half the time you don't. Most people don't even understand what it is that I'm saying to the depth of what I'm saying it, because there's too many fractals, there's too many layers, there's too much that unless you have a framework, a process, a complete step-by-step, you are really stabbing in the dark to find your path. And that's why so many of us are bringing these things to humanity now. We're building religions, we're building new frameworks, modalities, offerings for the future generations, because there isn't enough tangible, conscious interpretation. So many mystical books. I mean, really, like if you look at the Bible, amazing. Does it tell you how to do X, Y, and Z? It's very metaphorical. It doesn't say step 1 to being in alignment with X, Y, and Z. Do this, think this, focus on this, act upon this. Sure, people can translate that, but that's their translation. Is that actually the pathway? And that's where there's a level up required to say, to get to this level of evolution, you need to go through this, and this. Ta-da! But people have to do it, then they have to document it, they have to study it on their clients and make sure that it is foolproof, that they have all of the steps. Then they have to build a complete structure in a university, in case studies, in all of these different things to actually prove what is at the moment very skeptical. Because I know that what I've done for myself, and I know my clients know what I've done for them, but anyone outside doesn't know because they haven't experienced it. So you need to start to provide the proof of why does this data mix with this formula, with this process, create this system to take you to this level of enlightenment, to this level of transforming this identity. Why? And it can't just be from psychology. It has to be psychological. It has to be spiritual, energetic, quantum. It has to be physical, and it has to be emotional. The only way for us to actually provide these full pathways forward is to work in all four quadrants and alchemize them and merge them together to that 0-point field. That's a lot of learning. That's a lot of experiencing. That's a lot of integrating, and that's a lot of dedication. So, I mean, you're going to know if you want to dedicate your life to this stuff. Look, I thought I did. Sometimes I get tired, right? Because it's a lot. It's not easy in our reality. I can ask for ease. I can sit in ease. I can choose the perspective of ease, but the truth of the current reality, as much as I don't like it because it hits with one of the things around the catalyst for most people to actually change is pain and suffering, and I don't like triggering pain and suffering. But the truth is that the majority of people will only change when they've had enough pain and suffering. It's no different to this, that it requires a specific kind of experience to create a specific result. And at the moment, the pathway of purification is an initiation. It is Iron Maiden. And it's only for those that are really ready to take that path in devotion. So for the priestess and goddess that are realizing you have this template, realizing that you might already have two spirits activated, you have a couple of choices to sit with. Do I want to continue on the path of purification of two spirits? Yes or no? Simple. Yes or no? If it's a yes, okay, how do I get support? Because I can guarantee you probably won't be able to do it alone. You might take you years, lifetimes, or you might go insane doing it. So where would you go? If that's a yes, where are you going to go for support? Because you need support. You can't do it alone. The second question is, if you have a second spirit and it's not activated yet, do you want it to remain in your body, or do you want it extracted and gifted back to source? Because you don't have to hold it. You don't have to evolve. You don't have to choose to even be in the possibility that that might happen. You also have the opportunity that if you've had a walk-in spirit in any form, do you want to integrate it? The pathway of integration. Do I need to understand integration? Me and my beloved will be creating a 6-week integration course that will be launching in March for people that have gone through accelerated experiences, walk-ins, DMT trips, Kundalini awakening, all of those things that can take years. It took me 7 years to fully integrate my Kundalini energy. 7 years. Now, there's other pathways, people that understand integration, people that know the steps, people that can work in the mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional to help you do it faster. So there's that option. Do I want to integrate a second spirit? Yes. Okay. Maybe I'll jump on Gia's email list and wait until that course launches so that I have the skills, so I have the ability, so I can do it. Because otherwise, I'm moving through the process unsure of what I'm doing, hoping that I'm going to find the right thing on Facebook or YouTube, or that someone's going to guide me to the right healer, right? And then you also have the option of deciding if you want to merge those spirits before they've purified. Now, that's potentially more positive because you're not going to be split between two hemispheres or two spirits. You can merge them, but if they're both not purified, you're going to have a larger bandwidth of density as well as a larger bandwidth of light, which means that you could experiencing things quite intensely quickly. So those are some of the options. Obviously, there is unique things to unique situations, but it gives you the opportunity to sit and decide, what do I want to do? How do I want to move forward? Do I need to jump on a call and have a chat to Gia about this? This is unique. You might need to ask some questions, get some really relatable experience and some support. But remember, you just have sovereign choice. And I think the biggest thing is that so many of us give up our choice in the name of helping humanity. And I don't believe that's the pathway forward. I don't believe it's the truth. And I would like to inspire people to choose something else that might be supportive to their human experience, because you did come here to be human. And your medicine, no matter how big or how small, doesn't depend on your bandwidth. It actually depends on your heart, your embodiment, and your ability to be here now. And if you're in all of those things, it's actually very hard to be here now. So I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you for listening to this transmission. Please make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Follow me on all of my social media because they all have different messages. And let's comment so that we can get these algorithms and stuff up and going. And follow the links to find out how you can work with me. I would love to see you on one of my next calls. Until next time, I don't know.